seen by a small c conservative is anti-growth, anti-change, anti-disruption, and protections for existing residents at the expense of growth and economic dynamism. I think the most obvious example, which I think will come, is rent controls. Rent controls have become more popular. They've always been here in San Francisco, but they've become more popular across the rest of the state of California and other big cities. And I think they will expand what fits under the rent control umbrella because for certain types of properties built before a certain year, I think it's likely to be expanded beyond that. I think you'll see more age-restricted buildings and condos, like co-ops, like 55 plus unit buildings. I think you'll start, and you'll have cities zoned specifically for only people over a certain age living there. You'll probably have more socially thin communities because it's kind of those are the type of people who tend to stay. Because those who are more community oriented are more likely to move to a neighborhood or a city that is more community oriented or have families and therefore less likely to be in these cities. And you'll also probably have less innovation and less new businesses. And I think the other thing too is you'll probably have more deaths of despair in cities because I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term the urban monoculture at all, but it's just this idea. It's like the standard, like the TV show Friends is a good example. Like the type more Sex in the City, like the lifestyle those people live. That can be fun in your 20s, 30s, and early 40s, but the longer term implication is that
nothing compares to the taste of Kraft Real Mayo. So whether you're cooking for 3 or for 30, you can always turn to the balanced, homey taste of Kraft Real Mayo. Crafted with simple pantry ingredients, it's the heart of every table.
John Fleming is lying. The truth? For years, Fleming voted for carbon capture. Now he's lying about his record, and Fleming's turned his back on President Trump. He's scheming with environmentalists who want to destroy oil and gas. He's siding with woke radicals, leftist billionaires like George Soros, Bloomberg. They hate Trump and don't care about us. Tell John Fleming attacking Trump and oil and gas hurts America and kills Louisiana jobs.
Chevy trucks bring big-time power, so you have choices for every job.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe ulcerative colitis symptoms can keep coming back. Break away to what's possible with Tremfya, with rapid relief at 4 weeks. Many people experience remission.
Your life kind of starts to lose a certain purpose if you don't have a family or more deeper ties beyond who you're hanging out with on a Saturday night in your second half of your life. And so as a result, you'll see a city more filled with retirees and senior workers that will become less economically and culturally relevant. Like what are the trendy neighborhoods now will become more hollow and degrade as there are more lower income seniors on rent control who live there versus younger professionals who are growing in their career. The other real impact you'll see is more physical decay in cities because if you're going to have a bigger cohort of lower income people or people who need more social benefits filling up your cities, you're going to have less of a tax base. And as a result, there's going to either have to raise taxes or cut spending. I think the way they're going to try to raise taxes is through higher property taxes. And if you have higher property taxes and rent controls, it will not make it very attractive for a real estate owner to stay here, especially if they're on an owner-occupied, like they're trying to rent it out. And you'll see probably more people diversifying out of California. I guess cuts in infrastructure, building new parks, whether it's building new roads, whether that's other core urban infrastructure, and not just building new ones, but spending to maintain it. It's like, why would I invest in maintaining new infrastructure, building new infrastructure when I need like social benefits now, and I might not be alive or still be living in this city a few years to see it. And this is also how low trust societies develop, because if you have a bunch of people who are just more trying to extract and less people who plan on being there in the long run or staying there for long or have a next generation to care about, that's why the bigger the city, the more impersonal it tends to be and transient it tends to be. The other thing is city pensions. There's a lot of municipal workers who are aging and they still have pensions, yet they will have to pay a bigger pension liability as that population grows. But for the reasons I mentioned before, there'll be less tax revenue to pay for it. So you'll have more infrastructure cuts to pay for that, or more attempts to raise property taxes or sales taxes or other things. And this kind of could become a doom spiral. The other thing you'll see is less investment in schools. Like cities and communities that have, and Florida has a lot of problems with this, that tends to have very old populations invest a lot less in their schools. Because if your kids are adults already, or if you're an older person and never going to have kids, why do you care about the public schools? It's not particularly rational, because you're not going to use them, and you don't know anybody who's going to use them. So you will vote down any funding increases to public schools. And also, if there's just less kids, there's less need for schools because there's less people to fill them up. So I think a lot of properties that is now being used for schools will be repurposed, and or there'll just be less funding for schools. I think that even with less funding, I don't think crime rates will necessarily go up, because crime is mostly committed by young men. So you will have probably lower crime rates and somewhat safer cities, but not as nice of places to live. And there are cities in the world that are already examples of this. Barcelona would be a good example. Montreal would be another one. Tokyo, Venice, San Francisco, and Santa Monica all kind of fit, that are kind of going through this cycle right now. And I think what separates San Francisco from some other cities who may be past their peak is that it still has touristic appeal. Like this is one of the nicest cities in America just to go on a walk and explore. There's so many cool places to see in terms of historical sites, or cultural sites, or just monuments, or nature, or parks. And also it's very good food. And so I think the more likely path for San Francisco is something like Venice or New Orleans, more than like a Detroit or a Seoul, because of that tourism factor. And I think you'll see more office buildings and other buildings that aren't as used as the working population.
Hello, this is Shanoa. Oh my fucking god. Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you're wanting to know if your ex is thinking of you and wanting to reconcile. Going by your cards, the Chariot in the primary position and reversed does mainly show that your ex's mind is kind of all over the place right now. So it does seem that they aren't exactly in the calmest headspace when it comes to thinking about you, but you are on their mind. Now, Justice in the secondary position and reversed does show that they feel that they were perceived unfairly regarding the issues between the two of you. So that does seem to be a big chip on their shoulder in terms of if you both can even reconcile. Now, Seven of Swords in the final position does show that rather than trying to make amends directly, it seems more like they are very intent on settling the score with you, or doing something that makes them feel like they got their form of justice, and then they would try to reconcile with you, which obviously this can't go anywhere good, since it seems like they're more focused on correcting whatever negative emotions they felt rather than actually try to rebuild a connection with you. Now, if you want to know where the future lies between the two of you further down the line, or if you want to know if this would even be a relationship you would want to pursue any further, you can give me a call or send me a message. Hello, this is Chanela. Now, regarding your question, you're mainly establishing that you're trying to manifest a lottery win and you want to know if it's in the cards for you. Going by your cards, Wheel of Fortune is kind of just backing up what you've already said, that you are trying to manifest a bit of luck for yourself. Now, the other two cards are definitely just blatant warning cards when it comes to this, since Five of Pentacles in the secondary position in reverse is cautioning you to be very wary of putting all your eggs in one basket or trying to pursue this, since it could end up turning out very badly for you. Now, Five of Swords in the final position in reverse is also cautioning you to probably go ahead and take a little bit of a risk or do whatever you want to do as long as it's fun, but don't try to chase losses or chase a feeling, because I know that this is a usual pitfall that a lot of people fall into when it comes to diving into these sort of activities. Now, if you want to know what your luck looks like for the rest of this year, as well as any opportunities that may come up for you, you can give me a call or send me a message.
Which is increasingly the fate of people in the corporate world to a certain degree. Or you can develop new cities from scratch. To
Huncho.
Like, there are a lot of places that are nice to
Hello.
live. They have a very low population density. And I think you've seen
Have we met before?
Like, I forgot what the name of it is, but there's like these special economic zones that the Trump administration wants to propose to expand certain places that would be, like, from a geopolitical and geographical strategy perspective, be good to place a city, but there really isn't one there, or just a small town, and just develop new cities from scratch. That's like what Americans did in the past. When the East Coast went too crowded, they went west. That's what this whole community was built on. And so I think you could see that. It's just newer cities being built from scratch, or turning a smaller city into a bigger one. We've seen this with the growth of Nashville. It's probably the most notable example already. And with that, I will take questions. What are your thoughts on this, though? Because this is kind of a bigger question I'm thinking about. How do you think older childless millennials who age in place are going to affect cities? And what does that mean for just the broader economy as a whole? Thank you guys all. Now I'll take questions.
Can you deduct state and local taxes on your federal return? We'll break down this type of deduction on this edition of Tax Tips by TurboTax. If you pay income, sales, real estate, or personal property tax to your state or local government, the IRS may let you deduct these taxes on your federal income tax return. Deductions for state and local taxes are only available if you itemize deductions on Schedule A, meaning you can't also claim the standard deduction. Additionally, your 2025 deduction for state and local taxes can't exceed $40,000 or $20,000 for married couples filing separately. But where do you find the tax amounts you paid? If you're employed, state and local taxes are likely withheld from your paycheck and reported on your W-2 form. Freelancers might see these taxes withheld from payments and reported on Form 1099 NPC. State and local income taxes might also be withheld from other types of income. And reported on a
Yes,
1099
that was
form.
you
You can use the
from that other
withheld amounts
time.
or any state estimated tax
What have
payments
you been
made
doing?
during the year to calculate the deduction. The good news? You can also deduct state and local sales taxes instead of state and local income taxes, but you can't deduct both. Choosing to deduct sales taxes instead of income taxes makes sense if your state doesn't have an income tax, or you pay more in sales tax during the year. There are two ways to calculate your state sales tax deduction. You can estimate your annual payments using the IRS optional sales tax tables in the instructions to Schedule A, or you can use the actual amount of tax you paid if you kept your receipts.
Trying to figure out my life. I lost my job
Your
last
state
week.
or local government may assess a real estate
What kind of
tax
job was it?
based on the value of your home. If you pay this type of tax, your payments are generally deductible on your federal tax return, in addition to your state and local income or sales taxes. And if your state charges a separate tax on your personal property like your car, you
Nationwide has strategies built to help you save time.
Well, clients love them, and I love that.
Because when Nationwide helps simplify retirement income planning, your clients can feel more confident and satisfied. Expert term, by the way.
Hello, Jack.
We've been looking at talent in
Mia.
2 dimensions. Resumes
Oh
and
my
keywords.
god.
But that makes hidden gems hard to spot.
Wow.
Hiring Assistant adds even more dimension to your talent search
That's really funny.
by helping you shortlist and evaluate
Nothing.
the best fit candidates you might have otherwise missed, which can save you over
Warehouse
$400.
job dealing with solar panels.
See talent
They let me go because the
dimension
production was
with
slow.
Hiring Assistant.
Am I laughing at you? No.
So
I'm
how
just
do we
disappointed in
get
you.
rich? What is the truth to getting
May I have a read, please? What do you want to know about?
or greater net worth territory as a self-made person? Welcome to Analyzing Finance with Nick. This video is going to be a little bit different than some of the other stuff I'm going to make. A lot of people have asked me in my consultation forums where people reach out to me for questions about wealth management or financial planning, career guidance, or a variety of other things.
Do you think you could help me in private session? Yes, I could.
I get rich? That's the question we're going to answer today. And I'm just going to give you my honest, unfiltered answer on this. And just as a disclaimer, I have not hit.
I go get credits IVRB.
$20 million
Okay.
is one of my many goals.
What's next for me? Okay. What to expect? Moving forward. Expect things get better. Well, if you want a reading, you'll need to do it through my link in the description.
Right now. So you're following along with my journey as being a subscriber to this channel in a way.
Let me get rid of this can.
I did a video literally telling why you should not be a YouTuber. So I'm not going to spoil that there. But I just wanted to make you my perspective as somebody who is going through the process versus somebody who has completed the process. Also, my incentives are aligned with yours. I run a wealth management company, and if you all become successful, it means that I have more future high net worth clients who I am predisposed to enjoy working with, as we both like the material of this channel. So what is it? Like, if you are somebody who grew up in a middle class to upper middle class background, or even a working class background but with little to no debt, how do I get there to the counter elite level? Well, that's what I'm going to explain. To start, there's 3 books I recommend reading, and a lot of the concepts from these 3 books I'm going to be addressing in this video. First one is a book called How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis, and it basically explains how he was able to starting several magazines on Maxim, PC Pro, and several other tech and world culture themed magazines, mostly in the UK, but a lot of them are popular across the English-speaking world. Another book I recommend is called The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz, one of the co-founders of Andreessen Horowitz. It's about the real grind that it takes to be a startup founder, and a lot of the struggles that it involves with building a business and the persistence needed to make it to the end. So that's another one I would recommend. And then the third book that I would recommend is Unscripted by M.J. DeMarco, and one that's similar to that is the book Millionaire Fastlane that he also wrote, which is kind of just to shake you into a more entrepreneurial mindset in general. These books are often perceived as a little bit heterodox, but they do go into a lot of the concepts that we're going to mention here. The other, I don't know if it's a black pill or a red pill that I got to get started with off the bat, is that the path to getting truly wealthy is not a fast one for the most part. I mean, it's faster than maybe a conventional career. It still is likely going to take far longer. At least you're at center price, at least a decade of your life, likely living in a income range that is lower than a lot of your friends, and you're going to have to give up or delay certain milestones to really put the effort into making it to the top on the entrepreneurial world. The average person who's self-made, who hits the $20 million mark, is about 50 years old when they get there. Some people in high tech, like venture-backed startup land, and in the hedge fund and private equity and finance world, can do it in their late 30s or 40s. And other professions like people who build law firms or real estate, well, often takes a little bit longer, to late 50s or even 60s. I want to give you a realistic time frame. And you're also likely going to, on this path, have startups or business deals or attempts that ultimately fail. From personal experience and also with my entrepreneurial peers, it's very rare that your first business is the one that takes you to the top. It's usually your second, third, or fourth. If you understand that ahead of time, and then the general rule of entrepreneurship is everything will take you 4 times as long and cost you 4 times as much as expected, you will have a better idea of what you're getting yourself into and if it's something you really want to do. The first key step to this, as you probably can tell, is that if you really want to truly get rich, is you need to be an entrepreneur and start your own company. But it's not as simple as just hanging up your shingle. There's more to it than that. An example would be that you have to have a business that has potential to scale beyond yourself. In the beginning, yeah, you're going to be doing most of the work. That can include all of them, you and your business partner, the first couple of years. But you need to build a model that eventually you can replace yourself with people who are just as talented and capable, if not more capable than you, to do very specific roles, everything you do. And the more redundant you are, the more valuable your business is if you are trying to sell it. And so that's kind of a general playbook, is building equity in a company of yours that can generate solid cash flow or have a lot of growth potential that somebody would want to acquire from you. So that's how you do it. You need to keep enough equity while you're doing that, which is the key lesson Felix Dennis book, so that when the acquisition does come, you will get enough of a payout that you can retire and be above this $20 million threshold. Like a lot of the companies try to get venture capital financing very early. Unless you're an AI startup that gets a super high valuation and your relatively small piece will still be a huge amount, I generally advise against doing this, because every dollar you give up in equity to an outside investor now is going to be tens or hundreds of dollars you're giving up in the future in the exit. Like, for example, you start a company, and year one, you take $1 million investment that you give up half your equity of your company. You have a business partner, so you each have 25% left. I mean, this is simple examples. There's usually multiple parties and multiple rounds. So let's just say you get the acquisition 10 years from now, the company sells for $100 million. Instead of getting a $50 million payday, you are getting a $25 million payday. Now, let's look at another example. Let's just say you and your business partner start a company, and then you build a minimal viable product, and you gain enough traction on your own to show there's real potential. You have your first customers, you have signs of proof of demand, it's a good working product, you put in the sweat equity and grind it on your own for the first couple of years. Now you go into the venture capital market and say, hey, look, I'm not just a greenfield idea. I have a proof of concept here. So now, instead of commanding a $2 million valuation in the previous example, which is still extremely generous for a greenfield business, I'm just making these numbers easy. Let's say now you get that same $1 million that you need to scale, but instead of at a $2 million valuation, you get it at a $10 million valuation. So instead of giving away half your company, you're only giving away 10% of your company to the VC. Then let's fast forward another 8 years, you still got that $100 million exit, but now instead of
What?
$25 million
He's
payday,
judged for
you're
real.
getting a $45 million payday. And there's an example, let's just say, for example, you could bootstrap it. Like you've saved up enough money through your previous job, or you lived like a hermit for several years, you had enough ingenuity that you didn't even have to go to the VC markets at all. You now have 50 million if it's you and a business partner, or if you did it by yourself, you have 100 million. Let's say. The key is the more equity you have at the end of the game, the more money you will at the exit. And that's what you give next. Give all the incentives you want. Give profit share. Give higher base salaries if you're hiring people. Give bonuses based on hitting sales quotas or referral things.
What?
Reward them for growth, but don't actually give hard equity. That is how we had a relatively
He's
modest
judged for
business
real.
magazine industry that ended up far wealthier than people who built much bigger businesses because he kept a bigger chunk of his equity than a lot of these founders. But there's a fine balance to this. It's better to own 10% of a $1 billion company than 100% of a $100,000 company. If you need the money to scale, you got to get the money from outside. I'm not saying you should never take outside capital. It's just you want to take outside capital
Will sign the book.
at a minimum level so that you don't dilute yourself. And the other thing too is you can lose control of your company and get fired by your investors, which is a very common issue among founders. So that's the other risk of giving away too much equity. There's kind of a trade-off there. A lot of tech companies have pressure to give away more equity because of how hyper-competitive it is and how first mover advantage in terms of being like the first or second company to come in and just blitz scale and spend a bunch on advertising and promotions to get that early market share is a lot more valuable, and that puts pressure to dilute quicker. Whereas other industries that are more established and you're going to gain your clients and customers not just through a quick blitz scaling campaign, but more through a methodical, thought out process and a sustainable moat, you don't need to give away the equity in that case. So it's a lot of circumstantial things, but in general, the more equity you keep, the better. And that really is a big key lesson. But I mean, great, I just need to have equity in a business and have an exit in 10 plus years. But how do I get to the point where I build a business that somebody's going to walk by in 10 years to create that exit event? And also, how can I start a business and find my initial customers and things like that? Well, I generally advise people in this kind of Venn diagram situation, you need to find 3 things to create a successful business. What can you do better than 99% or 95% of people if it's 2 like unrelated skills combined, like a Scott Adams skill stack, I think is like the term for this. If you can make it to the top 1% as an entrepreneur, you have a viable business easily. There are other So that's the other way you can get rich. There's a second way other than entrepreneurship, and that's just being like the top like 0.1% in any given profession. Whether that's an athlete, a teacher, doctor, a lawyer. If you're the top 100 to 500 people in the world at anything, you'll get rich. I think that's much harder to do than the entrepreneurship path. Entrepreneurship is difficult, but any other profession, to be in the top 500 people, maybe more generous, top 1,000 people, that's just, there's all the people in the world competing to be in the top 500 in their profession. It's very difficult to do. In the age of the internet, where things are more scaled and concentrated and winner take all, it's going to get increasingly more difficult to do that kind of thing. And yeah, you can, and that's the same thing like CEOs who make it to the Fortune 500 CEO. You are basically one of the top 500 management employees in the United States. When you look at it that way, it makes sense why they're paid so much. A lot of their decisions can move billions of dollars in market cap every quarterly earnings report. What they're paid is really a fraction of that. But from the more broad perspective, anybody who makes it to the top 500 individuals of anything will get wealthy if they apply themselves enough. But you can't speak advice that applies to the top 500 individuals in any profession or skill. So you can be in the top 1 to 5% of one or two things, and if you're an entrepreneur, you still can get to the same level as somebody who's in the top 500 overall.
Nationwide has strategies built to help you stay that.
It's a game changer.
Their timely market insights help simplify conversation with your clients. But sometimes actions speak louder than words.
Crushed it.
Don't worry, your makeup is stuck like glue. The Face Glue Setting Spray by NYX Professional Makeup.
Who was the very first person to write here?
If it ever happened to be the first. Attacks don't look like attacks. That's the point. Disguised as a trusted face, familiar voice, a team of 5 stars see business as usual. Couple sees through the act, repeating patterns, connected attacks. They turn detection into disruption, stopping strike quickly, evolving human resilience, and building stronger defense with every fight. Doppel, outpacing what's next in social engineering.
The second component is what actually gets you excited to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't have to be any time. I think the whole 5 a.m. club thing is just a survivorship bias meme. But the general idea is you need to have something that is going to motivate you intrinsically for long enough to see the process through. As I mentioned, the first 2 to 3 years, you're probably not going to make any material amount of money, especially if you have savings. That's just the nature of entrepreneurship.
What the heck are you doing all the way out here?
I'm giving Susie the water closet she deserves!
But the reason why those stories are so often repeated is because they are the exceptions. They're not the norm. Even for the most successful entrepreneurs, the average billionaire is 59 years old in the United States. The average person who makes it into the $20 million club does it at about age 50. So, and they don't even often start their businesses until their 30s. So it's a long road. And pure grit is not going to be enough. It has to be something that intrinsically drives you. It's not just a simple answer like find your passion and the money will come. You need to be passionate about what you're doing, otherwise you won't stick around to when the money comes. That's why this is important. The third component is, what do people ask you for help for? And I mean that as a question of like, where's the demand? There's a big mistake in entrepreneurship that I call the field of dreams version of entrepreneurship. It's based on
I like to
the
scare her a
movie
little bit.
Field of Dreams, where Kevin Costner plays a farmer in Iowa. Those of old baseball players say, if you build this, they will come. To tear down a large chunk of his cornfield to build a baseball diamond. He almost goes bankrupt and loses his family farm because they tore down so much corn to build this baseball diamond. But eventually, the ghosts of the old baseball players, including the ghost of his father, show up and play baseball there, and millions of people from around the world that go see the spirits of the old baseball players. But that's not how it works in the real world. You have a great idea for a business, you build a website, and you build a product, and you register your LLC, and get your business cards printed out, and make yourself feel official. And then if nobody buys your product, you have no customers, you're not a real business. They call a lot of those people entrepreneurs. Is that like you trade all the image, like the Instagram style, like veneer of being an entrepreneur, but you're not a real entrepreneur until you have actual paying customers. If you have actual paying customers, you're an entrepreneur. And product market fit is what this is called in startup circles, is probably the hardest thing really to find. I struggled personally with several startup attempts. The main reason why they didn't work was failure to find product market fit. It is very difficult, especially if you're a stubborn person who thinks, I have this valuable thing to contribute. And so if people don't find it valuable, then maybe everybody else is stupid. Well, no, not everybody else is stupid. It's just that they have no need. There's no need for your product. You can have the greatest thing in the world. If nobody wants it, it's not going to be a successful business. Like if I made a YouTube channel and all I talked about was the economies of South Pacific Islands, maybe there'd be a few people who would be interested, but I bet 99% of you would stop watching this channel if all I talked about was the economies of South Pacific Islands. And if I want this channel to be successful, I need to have topics that are not only things that I find interesting, otherwise you burn out and create very soulless, uninspired content, but also what you want. So I do a mix of it. I'll pick things that I'm interested in, put it in a poll, you guys vote on it, and whichever one is the highest vote is the one I'll either release first, or if maybe only that one. And so it
Invincible show animator just had a mental breakdown. I actually didn't watch Invincible. Should I watch it, chat? Should I watch Invincible? No, it's very gay. Is it really?
There's been lots of discussion about Tech Jacket being.
Oh my god, I've been seeing Hero Hate in so long. I love Hero Hate videos, to be honest. Alright.
Character comics to a female character in the animated series.
Wait, what?
But for some people, the
Wait, what?
animated character comics to a female character in the discussions about Tech Jacket.
As an ex-D1 athlete, I know that
Hello.
sweat equals electrolyte loss. That water just isn't enough to keep
Any
up.
updates for
Sub-Zero
you?
gives me the edge.
I thought we said next week.
Swapped from a male character comics to a female character in the animated series of
Invincible's actually a comic. So it's actually a comic. Okay.
But for some people, the discourse is a little bit different, as we have this week with.
I'm just asking.
You know, I'm not real, I don't really care.
I can't tell you until the time we agreed upon.
It depends on the reason. It really depends on the reason.
But I'm glad that you're staying busy.
But yeah, what are they talking about? Well, Ryobi says, that's not my Tech Jacket. I don't care if Tech Jacket is a woman. I care that the VA is a Zionist.
Is this real? Is this fucking real? Is this really what we're gonna get mad at over this?
And Mother says, why? Freaking why? Reacting with anger and saying how it felt to them. Talks to Invincible things only to find out that the VA close to Israel. What are they saying? Who cares? Just watch the show. You gotta see this one. Story Porter vision is more invincible. Hatred, Snodgrass. His thoughts on the
Just making sure the energy hasn't shifted and no delays. No, I haven't detected any
Let's hear about it.
changes.
I mean, like, what's the reason behind it?
By the way, this is someone.
I mean, was the author okay with it? I don't know. Like, was the author okay with it? Like, what was the point of it? Is the point to just have a woman? I mean, to be fair, they look kind of cute. It's the usual reason. It's like they needed like a. I mean, it's possible they needed. The author wanted it. Okay, well, they're in it. Who cares? Like, I don't really have a problem with it in general, as long as like the reason isn't like terrible. Like, if the reason is like, oh, like we hate men.
Still, he's saying something in 6 days, correct? Yes.
Graphic reasons, I don't really think it matters too much.
Who worked on Notorious show. I can't even say the name. Oh gosh.
Well, you want to know a funny one that's like kind of similar to this? Yeah. Sorry, I saw High Garden Spike in the corner of my eye.
What about
Oh,
Vanessa?
jeez.
It's on the same timeline as well.
Ex-employee, bro. Imagine saying you worked on High Garden Spice. That's like as bad as.
Dude, High Guardian Spice. Dude, I actually was so excited to watch High Guardian Spice because the idea was really cool. The idea behind it was really neat. It was like about this girl in like an adventuring school. It's like supposed to be like some Harry Potter thing, but like for adventures. And like, I love that shit, to be honest. Like, I ran an entire tabletop campaign on that premise. Like, I thought it was really cool. Like, really cool. I was super excited about it, right? And bro, like, literally, what in the fuck?
Else, also, I wanted to move here. Yes,
My goodness.
I remember.
HGS had the same hype as Steven Universe? No. And like, okay, listen. I've seen Steven Universe, at least like up to there was like some part where they stopped airing it, and like I didn't watch it anymore. There's like a wackiest shit. But I think the last parts was like when they fused like with like that like Indian girl or whatever. They fused. Anyway, so I watched it, right, and it is not as bad as High Garden Spice. It's like not even close. Like even Steven Universe had like pretty good moments that were pretty fucking anime. Like, to be honest, it had good moments. But the funny thing is, so I totally do agree. Like, I've heard some theories that Steven Universe was when it all began. Like, Steven Universe was like the ground zero for like everything that happened after it, like in the media. And like, I kind of do agree with that. Like, I think it's either that or Adventure Time. You can like pick one of the two to be like ground zero for like the entire.
Carr said that's a possibility too. That I'm leaving here soon.
But you know,
I don't think that's a
I
coincidence
still don't think that it's really quite
that your cards would say it too either.
Steven Universe in comparison to High Garden Spice. Like, High Garden Spice was just like, what in the fuck? Like, literally, there's literally like a part in like I gotta show it to you guys. It's so ridiculous. Like, it's like so out of left field. It's so weird. And like the thing is like I'm not even the person.
I just want to make sure it's in the timeline for me. Yes.
That just hates trans people for no reason. But like, this was so ridiculous. Like, this was so, like, it was so out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, person. Like, just being honest, I'm not even the person that just hates trans people for no reason. But like, this was so ridiculous.
Wish me luck this week. I
like,
will.
This was so, like, it was so out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, they were just talking in the middle of it. They're just having, like, you know, they just out of nowhere just exposed. Yeah, exactly. The most ham-fisted attempt at trans rap. I totally agree with that. It is so ham-fisted.
I'll see you this Friday. Yes, I'll be here.
You want to do an arc about like a trans character, there have been animes that have done that.
Be safe.
The problem with it is it's like there's no build up to it. You know what I mean? Like there's no build up. It's just like boom, like immediate. Right? It's so shoehorned in. It's just not, the writing isn't good for it, and that's like the problem with it, right? Not trans. Just like boom, like you know, they just out of nowhere just have. Yeah, exactly. The most ham-fisted attempt at trans rep. I totally agree with that. It is so ham-fisted. It's like I have no problem. Like I honestly, if you want to do an arc about like a trans character, there have been animes that have done that. The problem with it is it's like there's no build up to it. You know what I mean? Like there's no build up. It's just like boom, like immediate. Right? It's so shoehorned in. It's just not, the writing isn't good for it. And that's like the problem with it, right? Not trans trap. Like there's plenty of characters that have that are along those lines, and their story arcs are actually not terrible. So that's the origin of the infamous potion in Lyrian Chronicles. No, the Lyrian Chronicles potion was from before this. Before this came out. Like this came out in what? Like this. Hold on. When did High Guardian Spice come out? High Guardian Spice air date 2021. So High Guardian Spice came out in 2021, and the Lyrian
Before I go, any advice for me for the week? You're gonna be busy. What are you gonna be doing?
Angel Sword 1, which would have been, it would have been the end of Angel Sword 1, which would have been, guys, when did Discord come out? When did Discord come out? It would have been 2017-ish. I think it's 2017. So the Dick Potion was 2017, because it's like the beginning, the end of Angel Sword 1 into Angel Sword 2. And the reason why the Dick Potion became a thing was because one of the player characters wanted to play as his own kid. So the story behind that is the player of Sylvie wanted to play as his own kid, but he married a girl. And so like we had to kind of, and so he was like, can I play as my own kid even though I married a girl? And I was like, and so like I was like, okay, well, you know what, yeah, you know,
I'm saying energy wise.
we're just gonna do a little
Okay.
fate scenario, like Saber growing a dick to have Mordred, and that's what we did. You know, that's what happened in Fate, right? Do you guys not know that? So in Fate, do you know Fate with like Saber? Yeah, Saber got turned into a dude so that his sperm could get extracted to have a kid, and that's how.
Any advice? No. I think you're on a good path right now. I don't want to give you anything that's going to disrupt that.
I thought it was Morgan. It was Morgan, wasn't it? Oh, it was Merlin. It was Merlin. Okay, well, yeah. So one of them gave Saber a dick to like have a kid, and that's how Mordred exists. Like Mordred from Fate, was that Apocrypha? Is that the Apocrypha?
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, so like Mordred from Fate Apocrypha is literally Saber's kid. But like, you know, they gender swap. So in the story of King Arthur, Mordred is King Arthur's son. But since King Arthur is a woman, in Fate, they had to like do an entire thing, a reason for that, right? And so that was actually the idea behind it, was from Fate.
Let me be the
But anyway, that's
Onward if you really get the gaming industry.
that's why I saw High Guardian Spice and I fucking threw up. In Norse mythology, Loki shapeshifted into a mare of female horse. fucking made it with the stallion. Yeah, I know. I know. You know. Oh man. I know. Fate Strange Fake already has a male saber. Well, the original saber was a dude. Is Strange Fate the original Fate? I think it is. So like Fate Stay Night wasn't the original Fate. The original Fate. No, Fate Stay Night isn't. Oh, it's Fate Prototype. That's the one. Fate Prototype. Saber is a man in Fate Prototype. Instead, Shiro is a girl in the original Proto Arthur. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, moving on from the topic of fucking dick girls. Okay, guys, like we're moving off the topic of dick girls. Okay. You mean the original or first? The original, Leo. It's like the Fate Prototype was the first Fate story. But anyway, that's why I don't like Hard Guardian Spices, because it's very ham-fisted, and it's like they could do it in a completely different way. Like I'm not opposed to like them having stories like that. It's just the way that they did it is terrible.
High Guardian Spice. Oh my gosh, that's a name I never thought we'd hear again, but here we are.
Mystical Venom is like.
It's like, sorry, you can tell when they're doing it for propaganda reasons, and that's what I don't like. Does that make sense? Like if they do it for like the reasons of the story, and it like it actually fits into the story, and it sounds pretty good, then I'm fine with that. But like when they do it specifically for propaganda reasons or for like some kind of narcissistic like rub it in your face reasons, then it's nasty. It is. It's just really nasty when they do it. It's so obvious and gross.
Wildly sexist. I knew that there was going to be a reaction to Zoe. I knew what was going to happen.
Why is she acting like that's an impressive prediction at all? Like they literally swapped this character from male to female, and Tech Jacket has a bit of like a fan favorite following. And
Well, I mean, again, like if the author kind of wanted that, and like there have been cases in stories in which, and this is like, I believe this happened in Attack on Titan, correct me if I'm wrong, but like where the author makes like a decision and they're like, actually, that's not how I would have done it in retrospect. Like, I kind of wish I could change it. And then they would have a suggestion to change the thing. I believe that that's happened before. So
Kirkman even issued a whole official statement about this, and she's like, "Oh, I knew people were going to talk about this." Yeah, Shaw.
it's the reason in which they do it. If they do it specifically because like they're like, oh well, you know, men suck, so we're doing this, and we're gonna literally make them a girl boss. And again, it also depends on the character too, right? Like if the character actually what's the reason in like which they do it. Look at if the character is basically the same character, it's just like they just made it into a woman, and it doesn't really change much about like it doesn't actually make it good. And it's not kind of happened the way he wanted it, and people complained about it. Yeah. Look, he changed it, right? I'm pretty sure in the anime he had a couple of changes that weren't in the manga, but it was intentional from the author. The thing with Hanja, I don't know what it was exactly. I just know that was the case.
But I think that's annoying me, seeing so many comments like
It's always a double-edged sword to retroactively change a story. Yeah, it is. But then, you know, I don't, again, like, if it's good and it works, it doesn't really matter to me, like, I think. It's only when it's done, like, for the purposes of propaganda or out of a dislike for a specific, you know, oh, there's too many white people in this. Like, that's an awful reason to do it. For instance, for pandering reasons, exactly. But if the author is like, you know, actually I would have preferred it more like this way, I don't really have a problem with it. Like, it's kind of whatever, you know?
oh, I'm fine with it because she's obviously there to be a love interest for Oliver, or she's obviously there to serve the interest of other male characters in the show. Women are autonomous beings that can do things for their own reasons that don't actually have to involve men. And when you are writing a story, your characters, regardless of gender, should be there to service the plot as a whole, right?
Okay, but okay, hear me out though. But what if the man is the plot? Then would that mean that the woman character is there to service the man?
Zaxby's Fingers and Wings in lemon pepper, garlic parm, and Nashville hot. Who's got the sauce?
I believe there's no one like you.
Michael.
Are you actually Michael?
Michael, rated PG-13.
Repeatedly opening the blood-brain barrier to deliver powerful chemotherapy to glioblastomas. It happened here at Northwestern Medicine. Nationally ranked for neurology and neurosurgery and oncology. Making medicine better happens here. Northwestern Medicine.
Dealing with information overload? Notebook LM can turn dense documents into dialogue with audio overviews, visualize connections from scattered sources with mind maps, and more. Surface new insights from your sources with Google Workspace.
To be there 10. And when you are writing a story, your characters, regardless of gender, should be there to surface the plot.
Does that mean she's a plot hole? Boy, 10 racks. Does that mean she's a plot hole?
The whole.
Oh
Right?
my god.
So her being there doesn't mean that she is going to be a romantic interest or a sister or a mother. There are other things that women can be, because I know this is going to be shocking for you. And
Yeah, lonely cat ladies. True. Good point. I forgot about that one. You know, what a good future. That sounds great.
Well, fans, because this is like a really big exclusive headline. But you know, women are people. Women are people, and don't just exist for men. And that's something I think you guys need to learn, because holy shit, these comments ain't it, bro.
This thing is actually so horrible. Her points are so bad that I got to unpack this in multiple steps here.
Oh, let's hear
Alright,
it.
So first of all, let's start at the very
Oh, the
beginning.
Star-Lord
She says that
gameplay,
Vincent
yes!
Games is wildly sexist. And her proof of this is a few comments
I
that
love
she carries
watching
where
some
people
good
are like,
Star-Lord
I wonder
gameplay.
if she's going to date Oliver. Now, you can argue that's a silly question, but it's certainly not sexist, and it's absolutely not wildly sexist. Snodgrass over here calling those questions wildly sexist is actually a massive self-report to her own privilege, because you know what's actually wildly sexist stuff? A number of Middle Eastern countries that have administrative laws that actively oppress women. That's wildly sexist. Not, I wonder if Tech Jacket's going to date Oliver. But she's going to call that wildly sexist, get all offended at it, and throw the buzzwords at people over that. And as usual, modern audience types like Snodgrass never want to talk about that stuff. You know, never ask them their opinion on Sharia law. They'll
Oh,
dodge
nice
that
kill.
question
Nice
as much
kill.
as they can.
Hero head,
And
good
there's
kill.
the other part of her argument where she essentially says, quote, women
Yeah,
have
fuck up this
autonomous roles and female Tech Jacket isn't there just to service men, unquote.
Damn,
Which is
total
hilarious.
hero hate victory. You guys see that shit? Damn.
And then there's the other part of her argument where she essentially says, quote, women have autonomous roles and female Tech Jacket isn't there just to service men, unquote. Which is hilarious, considering that Kirkman's own statement said that Tech Jacket got swapped specifically because he would have been too similar to Mark, and that female Tech Jacket brings more affecting energy, which all of this implies was done to...
Okay, that sounds pretty like a good reason. That sounds like a good reason. Yeah, it's a good reason.
to the benefit of male characters.
Just to like kind of have a better dynamic, yeah.
Now, you don't need to agree with Kirkman on this premise, but it goes to show how out of touch and ignorant Snodgrass's argument is, both in real life and in the Invincible verse. And one more thing.
I don't know much about Invincible
Take note
though, to be fair.
About Snodgrass, it's really exclusive for female characters to have their own agency, but to also be things like a love interest or a sister, etc., etc. This is such an insane take because there's an almost endless amount.
Yeah. You know what should happen is that all female characters should be lonely and depressed. Yeah, they should never be sexually fulfilled. Yeah, that's True.
of female characters in fiction.
Just
who
like
are
real women,
these
yeah,
things,
exactly.
But still very cool on their own, and yes, with their own agency. The fact is, obviously, a female character can be a wife or a sister, again, et cetera, and also have their own agency and do cool things on their own.
No. The only way to make listen. The only way to make female characters matter is to be literally men. I mean, that's why it's called history, right? Not her story, obviously. So it's like there's no way for women to have any effect on anything. You have to basically make them dudes. It's the only way. Yeah, women just suck that much. Apparently, according to them. Women suck that much that like there's no possible way that you could have a woman like actually work unless they were basically a dude. That any sort of things that women care about, like love, being in a relationship with a dude, being someone's girlfriend, having kids, being a wife, a sister, a mother, all of these things, they don't matter. They should be out there going to war and killing dudes. That's the only thing that matters, really, right, guys? You listen to these people talk. They sound fucking ridiculous. Like, what is this even?
She's the one who, like I said a second ago, is the one acting like that stuff is mutually exclusive, which one could argue is actually her making a sexist take. Interestingly enough, this whole tech jacket swap discourse is occurring as a clip that is currently going viral of Jennifer Newsom, the wife of Gavin Newsom, who is the governor of California.
Oh, good.
She talks
Exactly
about how
who I
she
care
will
about.
change protagonists from male to female in books that she reads to her kids. According to her own standards, by the way, this would be misgendering, but it's fine when they do it. It's different when they do it.
I've given our boys dolls, even if they tear the head off. I've given them dolls to learn that caregiving is
I'm
not.
I'm such a good person that I give my kids toys that they don't even want. It's just like I'm just so progressive. Like you don't understand like how good of a person that I am.
What do you mean you apologize?
Subject my sons to things that they're not interested in.
What's going on?
Can you listen? Just listen. Listen to what I have to say. A woman
Is that a debate show?
Just an activity that's
No.
reserved for women. But that they
It's
also
just a VTuber.
use, a responsibility of
Just a VTuber yapping. Apologizing because I keep asking. There's no delays in his energy. No, there's no delays. Oh.
Just make them watch Apothecary Diaries. What the hell? What is this shit? We're gonna show everybody that women are very
So truly any day
powerful,
now
like, just
starting
calling
tomorrow,
the men
correct?
women.
Yes.
What the fuck is this? Like, what is this? What is it? Their idea, guys, their idea of like a strong female character is literally like she literally said it. Let's just take the characters and just change the fucking gender on it. Like, what is this? This is like so stupid.
At the end of the day, we're all kind of like in this place
This
in
is so dumb.
history, maybe, where we're recognizing what it is to ultimately deconstruct all these gender
Thank you
roles
for
and
clearing the
ultimately be
delays.
women. Oh my God,
You're very welcome.
That's exciting to me. So
I'm so excited
You know,
to like take a character and just like change their gender and change nothing else about them.
Ooh.
That's it. That's all that matters. All that matters is that she has vagina and not pee-pee. This can't be real. Like this, dude. You're telling me that these people are in power? Like this is insane. This is so crazy.
I also sent Vanessa a follow-up
I'll just
email for
continue to
tomorrow.
kind of do my work and try and deconstruct all of these like
I think that was
long
actually a
narratives
good
about
idea.
ultimately what it means.
Guys, I have to write my book. Like actually, I've been writing a book.
Sounds like someone who overanalyzes everything on that you're listening to. Yes, that sounds like most talking heads online nowadays. Very insightful stuff coming from someone with the screen name Nudist Man. Very nuanced takes.
Matter in which
Oh, God. I might need to eat another piece of sausage. I'm feeling weak. Not the band Talking Heads, who are great. I don't know a band. I don't know any bands called that. I guess I'm not old enough. Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you're wanting to know, how does your partner truly feel about you? Going by your cards, Four of Cups in the primary position does show that they do seem to have a lot of affection for you, but they're pretty bad at showing it towards you. Ace of Pentacles in the secondary position does show that they also feel very secure and comfortable with you. It's just that due to their history, it gives them problems when it comes to opening up and sharing their feelings with someone, even if they really care about them. Now, Ten of Pentacles in the final position in reverse does show that they do have visions or ideas about pursuing something very serious with you, such as making a family, but they feel like it would take a lot of work and that there's a lot that would have to get ironed out between the two of you. So overall, it looks like they have a pretty positive opinion of you. It's just that they're kind of held back by their own deficiencies when it comes to social acumen. And if you want more insight on what the future holds between the two of you later down the year, as well as any other compatibility issues, you can give me a call or send me a message. It's always fun. I gotta redo that audio. If your energy is low, okay, are you gonna explain why your name is the? What's up with you people having lewd names on this website? I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, does that do something for you people? Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you're wanting to know how your partner truly feels about you. Going by your cards, Four of Cups in the primary position does show that while they do have a lot of affection for you, it seems like they are kind of held back when it comes to communicating that towards you, which this just speaks to something that's happened in their past. Ace of Pentacles in the secondary position also shows that they feel very secure with you. So it's not anything that you're really doing. It's just further emphasizing that they've just had some bad experiences in their life that make them a bit more insulated. But I am positive from what I'm seeing that this would go away over time. Ten of Pentacles in the final position does show that they do have visions or ideas of building something very serious with you, such as a family, but they kind of know that it would take a lot of work in ironing out some problems between the two of you before it ever got to that point. So overall, he does seem to have a very positive perception of you. It's just that due to any of his social deficiencies, due to whatever's happened in their life, has caused some problems, but it would get better over time. Now, if you want to know more about what the future holds between the two of you, as well as any other compatibility issues, you can give me a call or send me a message. God, I hate having to redo audios. Is God a pervert? Well, God did say some pretty weird stuff in the Bible, so your decorative background is great. Thank you.
Tackle pet messes with Nature's Miracle stain and odor remover products. Our formula doesn't just target odors. It won't quit until the stain is gone too. Plus, it's safe for your pets and home when used and stored as directed. Trust the miracle. Nature's Miracle.
I'm happy for you to make see what I'm talking about? Just you're talking about something that happened 5 minutes ago. Why? Why are you still talking about that? That was like forever ago. Is there anything I can actually help you with? Or are you just here to go back and forth with me?
Yeah, I'm not Twitch. Let's hear it.
Guys, I got suspended on Twitch in the middle of my Crimson Desert playthrough.
Jeez.
I don't know what I'm going to be able to do. It's going to be an me.
5 minutes is years ago? Yes, exactly. It is years ago. It means you need to keep up.
Free time. Well, I guess I can start by making this video, right? So, I got suspended last night on Twitch. I end my stream, and I come back from the gas station, and I get a message, and somebody says, why can't I chat in your stream? And I'm like, well, I don't know what happened. And I look, and I get a message, and it says that my account has been suspended for 7 days because of hateful conduct. So this is what I did. This is what I said.
People should stand by what they say. That's all. Okay, what are you talking? Okay, are you the person who's usually in my chat lately, who keeps making alts to post jibber jabber? I feel like you are.
The opinions of third worlders don't matter. Like, I don't care what some illiterate goat herder thinks of that.
Wait, what is wrong with that? Like, what is wrong with that? Like, if you're American and there are people on the other side of the world, why would I would say the same thing about China, right? Like, why? Like, wouldn't China say, I don't give a fuck about those Yankees, right? Like, okay, fair enough, right? Oh, it's because
I've never been here before, honestly. Are you sure?
Goat herders from Afghanistan.
Again, the way this looks out in the public.
Because so far you're looking kind of familiar. And you're in here. You're saying a lot of gibberish. You haven't spent any credits. You're looking exact. I think you are that person. In fact, I'm gonna get some tea. I think you'll have moved on by the time I come back.
Like, obviously, like, if we're talking about American policy, why the hell would we care about? Well, why would we care about what other countries think? It doesn't really matter, right? But in the context, like, they're literally talking about, that region. specifically, so like he would target that region. But you could say the same thing about every country, right? And I would expect them to say the same thing. Like, why the fuck would we care about some yanks from America? Okay, and right, like, why would you care? It's like, why would you care what we have to think, except for the fact that like we're badass? Like, I'm just being real. Like, we're badass enough that like we could fuck up anybody. Like, let's just be real. They kind of have to care what we think. They're free to say that, right? Forbidding ability for the 100. I've been there, can confirm both the codes and the illiteracy. I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of them are illiterate. I mean, obviously, right? I mean,
those people.
I'm confused. Like, do you think that people would be more or less literate when they don't have to be literate for their jobs? I'm not even saying it's a bad thing for them to be illiterate. It's like, it's fine. Like, they don't need it for their function, so it's like, whatever, who cares?
Believing AI-generated videos about Iran winning the war and nuking Israel off the map. Gentlemen, I would like to confirm that I am 100% right, and you don't either. And neither do they care what some of those people believing AI-generated videos about Iran winning the war and nuking Israel off the map. Gentlemen, I would like to confirm that I am 100% right, and you don't either. And neither do they. Because if Twitch cares about their opinions, why don't they apply Afghanistan's opinions to women on Twitch? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? But everybody knows nobody gives a fuck about them. Nobody cares. I'm not sorry. I'm right. I said nothing wrong, and nothing I said was against the terms of service. Beyond that, do you even imagine a world where somebody that says that they don't care about what
I only use this name.
But they say it all the time. What are we talking about?
Huh?
People from all over the world always
Did you ask something else? Has his energy? You already asked that. You already asked about his energy, remember?
Right, like, you should up and eat your burger. They fucking say it all the time, though. Of course not.
He has some.
And by the way,
What type of tea do I have? It is sweet tea
just being real. Yeah, whatever. Eat your flat.
by Gold Peak.
Right, like I'm eating like, you know, a fucking half-pound like half-pound patty smashed.
Is
burger,
he
and it's
cheating
delicious.
or what? Is he cheating or in with me?
And I think Americans are gross.
Is he cheating?
Have a understanding of the world.
Why don't people like, do people like check what they're even typing before they send something in?
It's more third worldist morality logic conversion that basically
I meant for me, not just delays. No, your energy hasn't really changed. Is that hot or cold? Okay, I will never drink hot tea unless I'm having an audience with an ordained master. I will not drink hot tea. And the last person in my life who could have fit that role was my tarot teacher, and he is literally not alive anymore. So
Roll with like whatever the hell like this camera is. It's so, I love it. I honestly love it. It's so good.
Instead of getting a suspension, instead of getting it for a day, instead of getting a suspension for 3 days, I immediately went from that all the way to a 7-day suspension immediately. Why would this happen? What is the reason for it? I have no idea. Is it because they don't like what I'm saying? Because it's certainly not because what I'm saying is against the terms.
I have no idea what a Centero is.
Yes, using nationality is
Wait a minute. Have you even followed me yet? Why are you still in here if you haven't favorited me yet? What do you think this is? A free chat line? How about you hit the favorite button if you're going to stick around? First visit. Well, get acquainted with that favorite button, Mr. First Time. Or keep it moving. Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you're wanting to know if he's cheating on you. Going by your cards, the world in the primary position does show that right now, God, I hate having to redo it. Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you're wanting to know if he's cheating on you. Going by your cards, the world in the primary position does show that the current state of your relationship with him is pretty good. However, Eight of Cups in the secondary position does show that there has been a bout of something that's come over him that's caused him to seek certain stimulations or comforts from elsewhere, which this would kind of warn me that he might be seeing someone in particular. Ace of Pentacles does show in the final position that he has encountered someone who does seem to be giving him a level of security and comfort. So overall, as far as if he's cheating on you or not, it's really inconclusive from what's being shown, but it is showing that he is finding an avenue through which to de-stress. So I would try to have an honest conversation with him before we really jump to anything as far as cheating. Now, if you want to know how the future looks between the two of you later in the year, as well as any other issues that may come up, you can give me a call or send me a message. It's such a slow day. Do I use runes in my readings? Yes, I have runes, but I usually don't have to use them.
Because why would I take somebody's opinion that is from a shithole in this country? And by the way, these are shitholes. Many of these countries are shitholes. And don't let anybody teach you or tell you that, oh, it's America's fault. No, it's not. The ones that America's invaded are shitholes.
It's over. He doesn't give a shit anymore. He doesn't give
The ones that
any
America
shit.
hasn't invaded or Britain hasn't invaded, they're shitholes too.
Wait, what did I say? Wait, what did I say like 5 minutes ago? Okay, I think I need to put you on a timeout since you haven't favorited me yet. And you're just doing a lot of talking. So I think you need to go bye-bye.
Third worldism. I'm not even really talking about the geography. I'm talking
Let me see. Nudist Man
and that ideology is
441.
It's the ideology and the culture. It's not
Yeah,
like
I'm just gonna give you a
the people
timeout
specifically. Like it's not
for
every
like
single person
an
from that
hour.
place is like it's like that. Obviously, you have to be retarded to think that. It's just the overarching ideology that has captured the most amount of people in these places.
Yeah, that disrespect should be met with violence. The idea that crime,
It basically is in their DNA. Well, I mean, obviously there is a natural disposition based on genetics, because obviously genetics affects your nature and stuff like that. The ideological factor is not 100%, obviously. Because even in America, right? Is it in our DNA that we have a bunch of quangos? Not really. It's kind of a little bit of both, right? So I mean, obviously there's people that aren't like that there. Let's just be real. But there are many people that are.
Discord and chaos in society should be expected. They're part and parcel of living in a modern city. And having
Is he okay?
You can't 60% are well, okay, but I don't really.
I don't think we need to worry about
What does
that.
affect? It affects birth defects and IQ. But I don't think that IQ necessarily makes you a crackhead, to be honest. It's kind of this weird case of it's being lower IQ makes you more susceptible to being sorcerers, I guess, to being getting spellcasted, and that like might be the thing. And again, this is why I keep saying we get our own spellcasters. Like you've heard me say it many times.
Because they might offend people, or they'll make them mad. The idea that getting angry about something is a justification to break the law. This is what I'm really talking about with third worldism. Things that
having low IQ means they have low impulse control, which leads to more violence. Well, I mean, that's why you have to spellcast them. You have to spellcast anyone. It's like, it's just how it is. It's like, that's not, guys, like, I don't make the rules, okay? You want to blame someone, blame God or something. Like, I don't make the rules.
What?
It's just how it is.
the Greeks,
What?
the Greeks, the Romans, and we figured this out in Western society, in Western culture. We realize that you can't run a society whenever you have people that act this way. And it's actually a good thing to not have a bunch of crazy fence zombies on the street. It's actually a good thing to have people that aren't living on the sidewalk. It's actually a good thing to have a civilized discussion that doesn't resort to violence whenever you hear something that makes you angry. But look, vote yes on 4.
For groceries that cost less.
Vote yes on 4.
For clothes that cost less.
Vote yes on 4.
For cars that cost less.
Vote yes to cut taxes on stuff we buy.
Vote yes on 4.
What for?
To end Louisiana's inventory tax.
That's $500 million in taxes.
Low impulse control is bad. I mean, the other thing too, right, is that we have really fucked with impulse control. Like even in America, like I really like the culture has to have a part in it. Like surely it does, right? Because like, surely it has a large factor in it. But I think we just fucked it up. You know what it is too, is you have to like be subjected to situations
Why not?
in which you have to exercise impulse control.
I'm just hoping he's good. He's perfectly fine.
I'm pretty sure that impulse control is actually a thing that can be exercised. Like it's a thing that you can develop by exercising more impulse control. And then when you choose to
Oh
not
my
do impulse
god.
control, you actually lose the ability.
Who did someone really just buy one?
So like then it would be cultural then. There would be a cultural factor, right? Like obviously that makes sense. There'd be a cultural factor that you have to
Why are you
teach
motherfuckers
people
buying
to have
that?
to exercise impulse control. And oh shit, I just realized something. This goes, oh my god, dude. So that's why it's bad. That's why it's bad to take away people's temptation to sin. That's why it's bad. Because if you do that, like for instance, like the Middle East, how they like cover up women so they can't even look at them, so they can't even like begin to imagine them in like a sexual way. Who the fuck by doing that lowers their ability of impulse control because they don't have to exercise impulse control every day. It's like that girl, like just fuck. You can exercise control without needing to be a sin. It's like, oh my god, you think about it, it ties into other stuff too. Oh my god, it ties into like everything. Just like low impulse control in like society of like, oh, I don't feel good today. Like I have to go do a thing, but like fuck it, I'm just not gonna do it. I'm just gonna like eat like a tub of ice cream. Like this kind of shit. Like I'm just going to give in to the thing because I feel bad. That's interesting. It's just a total loss of impulse control. Like I guess the same thing like applies to like I don't know.
But for some people, this is the third worldist mindset. It is the aggrandizement of the base interests, the base desires, the base common denominator of mankind. And you know what? I don't want it here, and guess what? They don't either. If Twitch thinks Afghanistan has such great opinions that should be listened to, maybe they should apply Afghanistan's opinions to women on Twitch. How about that? But they won't, because they also agree with me too. I just was the one that said it, but everybody thinks this. And I have nothing, by the way. Oh, I said illiterate. They have 37% literacy. Flip a coin, I'm right. So the point is that really they all do agree with me. Everybody agrees with me on this. And if you're a guy from Afghanistan, you're watching, I don't know, I'm sure we've got a number of them. We've got a lot of people that watch the show. Listen, man, I'm not talking about you, but you know that there's some idiots in your country.
Well, that and the people, the reasonable people will also know that Aspen's not talking about them, right? Like if they're going from it from good faith, because obviously he's not talking about them. They probably know that, which is why they're Aspen Gold viewers in the first place. Because they weren't Aspen Gold. I mean, if they weren't Aspen Gold viewers, if they are Aspen Gold viewers, they obviously know this already.
They're morons of talking about them. And by the way, we have those same third worldists. We have those same fucking retards in America. Being a third worldist, yes, it's a geography, but it's more importantly a mindset. And these people have that mindset, and I don't want to have it. I don't want to deal with it. I think it's destructive, it's reductive, and I want to have nothing to do with it. So that's really the way that I feel about this, right? You know, these people talk about the Epstein files. They have their own Epstein files. It's called the marriage records. It's called Tuesday. They have child marriage. It's legal. I don't want to have that here. I don't want to have anything.
Oh my God, Aspen's laying it all out. I love
to
this.
do with that here. So all that being said, I don't want to go through and talk about that too much. What am I going to do? And just very clearly, by the way, I was very surprised by this. I was very surprised by this suspension. I thought it was going to be for like 20 of the other things that they said, right? I mean, I thought it'd be for like, you know, I don't want to give them any ideas because I did submit an appeal. I submitted an appeal, and you know, I told them like, and the thing is that if they tell me you can't refer to third worlders in a derogatory context, I hate to say it, you know, I don't take off my shoes whenever I walk in my own house. Somebody else asks me to walk in their house. They tell me to take off my shoes. I do it. I'm not in my own house. I will follow Twitch's terms of service begrudgingly, and you guys will know that I absolutely don't agree with it. And these are my viewpoints, but I will follow the rules. And I have always taken a good faith effort to always follow the terms of service. If there's a dick that we show on stream, well, it must be that day of the week. And on top of that, they've complained to me about that too, by the way. And if I do that, I do.
What?
Keep them on, and I try to move past it, and I apologize to say, "Oops, guys, that's my bad. I didn't mean to do that."
You'll take my word for
I
it.
intend to break the terms of service. Why would I ever do that? Why would I ever put myself in a position where I intentionally do?
Did you show that horse thing? Like, who cares? What? Who cares? Wait, really? Like, who cares? Who cares? Like, really? Like,
Something that I think would put my channel at risk. It's just stupid. Why would I ever do that? So the problem that I have with this is that I think that I've made it, and considering the content of my, you know, like my stream, I cover extremely. I talk about things like, you know, actually the most politically charged, most extreme issues on a daily basis in plain English, just, you know, as a matter of fact. And really, I think that in order to do that and not have a million bad clips that have, you know, been released about me, there's only 500,000. There's the reality that I do try a very good amount to try to control what I say, to make sure that what I say does not break the terms of service. And I try to say what I say with a degree of, you know, like, I guess, like I'm thinking about what I'm saying, right? I'm not just, you know, going extemporaneously right off the cuff. I mean, to an extent I am, but I'm editing it in my mind to make sure that I don't say anything that would get me in trouble on Twitch. So when I said this, I didn't think I said anything wrong. And by reading the TOS, I don't think the TOS says that I said anything wrong. And the reality is that if you applied the reason why I got suspended to anybody applying the same type of language against Westerners, against Americans, against anybody in a developed country, you know that not only would it not be banned, it would probably be celebrated. So I think this is a massive double standard. It's completely unfair. I was unfairly targeted. I'm not sorry for any of it. And I'll be waiting for Twitch's apology for unbanning me. And if it takes them a couple of days, that's fine. If it takes them an entire week, I guess I'll have to finish Crimson Desert. But the reality is that I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I regret nothing. And according to their own rules, I also did nothing wrong. So all this put into context, that's pretty much where things stand. That's where we're at. I'm not really stressed out about this. Honestly, I'm kind of excited. I feel like we've been in a little bit of a lull period, right? That's what I've been trying to do. Like, oh, I'll do the ban appeals. I'll do like the Jesus game, right? And, you know, all that. And I'll be honest, what's really spurred me to make a comment about it last night is that I saw on Reddit, people thought that I got banned for showing the horses kick on the stream. And I was like, this is the stupidest narrative. I have to correct this because it's so ridiculous. And I don't want people to believe this. People are also saying I got banned for like
Ridiculous. So it's ridiculous. Got it.
in the Jesus game. I don't know. Maybe that was the reason. Maybe there's an enlightened Reddit atheist in the moderation team. But that's the reason they gave it. They said hateful conduct for 1 week. I put in my appeal. Hopefully I'll get it approved. I did nothing wrong. I apologize for nothing. I said nothing wrong. The clip has shown millions of people, not millions, many people say a lot of things that are a lot worse than what I say, and nothing ever happens to them. And I think it was totally unfair that something happened. All that being said, I recognize that that's what Twitch doesn't want me to say. I won't say it. Just please explain the vocabulary I'm not supposed to use.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair, right? Like, okay, like, what the fuck? This is the thing, they never want to do it. They never want to be upfront about it.
Won't use that vocabulary. I'll just think it. So anyway, thank you guys all very much for watching. I really appreciate everybody's support. I know a lot of you guys have been on Twitter and everything. You guys can share the video, let people know kind of like where I'm coming from, what's going on. But other than that, that's about all I've got, guys. So that's where things stand. That's where I'm at. I'm sorry.
He did take it well. And I was just like, if this is meant to be, he did take it well. And I was just like, if this is meant to be, let's just do it correctly and not rush anything. And that was that. And then he was like, I'm back the fuck out of you. So I was like, okay. My vagina is ready. I just finished a house. I'm getting sick. I have a massive clean on Wednesday. A body clean, and I'm hoping that I'm not sick because I have to deal with bodies. I'm shit story. I'm surrounded by really things, important, smart people. That's better my life. And I want lots of money. I really do. I'm wealthy, life, spiritually. I'm rich. I'm a rich heart. I just want shitloads of money so I can do what I need to do in life. Depressing. Okay, how are you? Okay.
Instant. And it's because Cody agents are getting so good. They're getting smarter, they're getting faster. And so that's why we're excited to announce Cursor 3. It's a home for your agents, and it combines the power of a professional development environment, language servers, files, notifications, with all of the models, and the ability to use as many agents as you want anywhere, either quickly on your computer or you can hand off entire project to agents.
I'm changing. I don't know if I like this. You need to get everybody home. But everything you've done, every sacrifice you've made.
You think you're some kind of hero? You're a monster.
The idea of inexpensive tools to protect you from getting HIV is something we've always believed in, put a lot of money into. Thanks to the generosity of the U.S. and others, HIV is no longer a death sentence. Initially, we were involved in a daily set of pills. Truvada is taken one pill a day, 30 pills a month, 365 pills a year. But in Africa, it didn't get very big uptake, even though the drug protects you from the disease. That it was like, maybe I have HIV. So we've been working with lots of companies on something that you could take less often. Lenacapavir is an injection taken only twice a year. It's free. It provides strong protection against HIV. This is an incredible piece of work because if a person's not affected, then they can't infect other people. You can get the cost down and really get the acceptance up. You could substantially reduce the number of people getting HIV.
Hey everyone, this is Manly Dennis, and welcome to Dearest Lucy, which is a totally not horror RPG maker game where you're on your way home during a storm, but then you suddenly get kidnapped and are told to take part in a ritual. The walkway home isn't usually like this. There's always peaceful flying walk with the moonlight just enough to see your path. But today was different. You were happy about how cloudy it was that morning, not knowing it would lead to such a large storm. The path is too muddy. It became hard to take a step, and I could feel mud getting in the boots. You kept going. Eyes focused down on where to place the next step, going on a steady pace, until you heard another step. Not yours. Did you just offend me? Huh?
This is absolutely amazing, but Aspen Gold TV. Let's check it out. Wait, what? Middle school identifies? No. No, this isn't real.
So you gotta put these teachers in jail.
This can't be real. What? No way. I don't believe it.
So you gotta put these teachers in jail for child grooming. I mean, they're going around telling their kids you don't have a gender? Look down. Like, it's so stupid. Like, what are we doing here?
Dude, Asmongold is so fed up, man. Do you guys see this shit? Dude, Asmongold is like, he's like quickly approaching like old man on the old man with like the cane on the porch.
Fuck.
Oh, there you go. Got my grill stuff. Thank you. Hey. Hey, the dog.
For the next 4 minutes and 11 seconds, Kenji Akari, the guy stronger than Yuta Kotsu when he's on a roll, with anime girls cheesing for him and OSTs playing at max volume, Akari is effectively immortal with fully automatic RCT faster than Gojo and Sukuna. Obviously, this guy is no slouch, one of the heavy hitters, one of the people that's been compared to Yuta across the entire series, a guy with insane potential even according to Gojo. He is incredibly strong, right? He's also pretty brolic when he ends up getting on a roll. In this video, we're actually going to be talking about ways to counter this supposedly immortal and unbeatable guy. With me, I have Broken Ronin. Obviously, you guys know who Ronin is.
Yo, what's up? Appreciate you having me on, dude.
We're going to be talking about every way that you can take down Kenji Akari and basically building a plan, right? If we had to take a bunch of sorcerers in series or maybe even create our own strategies for how we can plug our controller up in there and take down and counter Kenji Akari. So the first thing that we're going to start off with is talking about base Akari, right? Obviously, there's Jackpot mode Akari, which you guys will learn a lot about in a couple seconds. But first, we're going to start off with Akari before he gets any of his boosts and just being in base right now. Now, when talking about Akari's base form, obviously this guy shouldn't really be a slouch in base, even if we don't have two great feats on him. Obviously, there's him infamously getting speared by Charles. Regardless, right? If Akari is regarded as this like super strong sorcerer, then clearly his base form can't be that bad.
So when it comes to talking about base Akari, I find him to be like a pretty funny character to go over. Pretty much every time he's shown on the screen, he either has like interesting feats that look good on paper, but with a little bit of analysis are dubious, or he just like directly gets beat up on, like we see Caution or kind of go crazy on him. I think the thing about Akari that's like, so common is that his base form can pretty quickly be gotten out of, right? We talk about Charles experience or whatever, right? And that's a big deal, but the key factor there is that despite Charles getting that ability off, Akari still is Jackpot and still is able to claim victory. If you're looking for like more of Akari's impressive feats, you could maybe argue that like for a time before Yuji stopped resisting and stopped fighting back, that he was able to kind of like go blow for blow a little bit with Yuji, at least to the extent where Yuji's not like knocking him clean out or whatever. I don't necessarily know what the mileage is on that, especially considering the fact that Yuji is just like really not trying to take the focus on here, and Akari's able to get him charge pretty regularly through a variety of different methods, right? We see that against Cotton, he's able to renew his health and like avoid that ability, which is Charles, he's able to get Jackpot at the last moment. on someone, forcing them to like understand the rules, and then using a jackpot, it might just be a method that like against most sorcerers might confuse them to the point to where they're just like, holy shit, and then he's in jackpot, right? So I can definitely see this just being a thing where, you know, Akari is decently strong, you know, like a mid-grade one on its own, and then like the reaches is like crazy level strength after that. I will say though, at least in so far as in my personal opinion, there's a reason that when we talk about countering Akari, we focus in on jackpot as opposed to, you know, how to counter base Akari.
Yeah, that's exactly the point, right? Like, nobody really clicked on this video thinking that we're going to be talking about base Akari, like it was this hidden special grade. I mean, look, regardless of how strong you think Akari is in base, clearly he's strong enough to the point where he can reliably get a jackpot, right? Nobody who's planning on dealing with Akari like we are just going to be like, okay, we're going to beat him up in base. No, everyone's going to be figuring out what to do if this guy gets into jackpot. So the first and pretty obvious way to get around jackpot would be to just kind of instantly get rid of Akari, right? And the only move that really comes to mind in the series that can truly just one-shot Akari off rip, right? Like no special arguments needed is the True Sphere, right? The True Sphere is literally a perfect sphere the Yorozu can make that exerts infinite pressure along every point. If Akari makes contact with this thing, if it can just completely eviscerate him, he's a goner, bro. No amount of reverse curse technique is going to help him from that. And that's kind of the point that Yorozu's trying to make when Yorozu's showing Sukuna exactly what the True Sphere is, trying to get him to open up a level in Shrine, just because of the idea that using True Sphere, he's going to instantly disintegrate.
We know that he's not really going to be able to counter it with like a clashing of two main divisions, right? If Akari goes into jackpot for 4 minutes and 11 seconds, while he's typically unkillable, he also can't really like spam his domain again, meaning that if Yorozu pairs her domain expansion with True Sphere, she just essentially guarantees that for sure hit completely obliterates Akari with literal infinite pressure. It's something that just genuinely is probably the technique that we have that's the most direct counter to Akari.
Yeah, True Sphere is so disgusting in this context that it honestly feels kind of cheese, and that's pretty much the pattern that we're going to follow throughout this video, right? The way that we're going about this is, you know, not super thought out, but we're going through the most simplest ways and working up to the most complicated and most debatable, right? So if you skip ahead about 5 minutes of the video and you hear us saying a bunch of garbage, well, that's not going to be exactly why. But trust me, hear us out, like and subscribe, leave a like on the video, it's definitely going to be worth it. So we can just move on to the next section, which is going to be about Higuruma's domain.
When it comes to Higuruma's domain, the main point and the main purpose of it is that he can catch people in here, characters that would otherwise be stronger than him or be like able to like, defeat him in pretty typical combat, and strip them of their curse energy, strip them of their curse technique, strip them of their ability, and in some cases even gain like an executioner sword, which is pretty much an insta-kill. Before we talk about confrontation, I actually want to go out of order and talk about the executioner sword real quick, just because it's an ability that also, much like True Sphere, is just like super ultra cheese. It just stated explicitly to kill someone without question if they're zapped by it or if they're like cut by the technique. There's no reason that this shouldn't apply to Akari, and so this seems like something that would just directly bypass the first curse technique in the event that Higuruma or someone maybe more capable of like wielding a sword and going, you know, blow for blow with Akari was actually able to land the strike. I think greater than that, when people really think of Higuruma's domain, they think of judgment and they think of confiscation, right? So when it comes to a battle with Akari here, there's kind of like two methods that this can be happening, right? Higuruma can either open his domain in clash with Akari, or it's honestly a better way if you're plugging your controller in, simply wait for Akari to reach jackpot, open his domain immediately so that the no violence clause is put in place, and then basically strip Akari of his first technique, which as a result would trip him to jackpot and basically mean that Higuruma or anyone else is jumping would be dealing with a very mortal, very base form of Akari.
When it comes to actually being in the court case, there's a multitude of things that Akari can be found guilty for, right? Obviously, in the mainline story, we already saw Akari performing literal illegal activity, in a legal fight club that's completely against regulation. Again, there's a multitude of things that Akari could, you know, potentially be confiscated for. Like, Akari was beating up a higher up. I mean, that's the reason why he's no longer in school, right? So again, there's a multitude of things that Akari could be charged for and would definitely get his technique confiscated for, right? And again, if they confiscate Akari's technique, they would also confiscate his domain, not just because domains are basically just failures plus the curse technique, but also because Akari's domain is pretty much the default option of his curse technique, right? So that's okay, fans or bust. If he loses his technique, he's losing his domain.
And honestly, even if you make the argument that Akari is just like a pretty like a quick-witted or intelligent character, which isn't necessarily the worst idea in the world, Akari just commits so many crimes so blatantly. I honestly don't think that there'd be a way to get around it. Like, Judge Man would just feature the full on file, like Hikari underage drinking on camera, or like Hikari running the underground fighting ring. It's not like a situation with others where it's like, oh, this is a character that's mostly on the straight and narrow that may have potentially caused or like done some crime. Like, no, Hikari's like kind of delinquent that did it in the story. So yeah, Higuruma wouldn't really have any trouble, making sure that Hikari gets caught red-handed doing some stuff. And with confiscation of his abilities, he pretty much confiscated all of Hikari's kids.
I mean, yeah, he's no Nanami, right? So, I mean, because of that, we could just move on to the next argument, which is a little bit more tricky, right? But, like, it's still pretty simple. It would be Naoya's domain, which is called Time Cell Moon Palace. Now, this domain has a sure hit, which is definitely lethal against Hikari. And more specifically, within Time Cell Moon Palace, in this domain, it's as if the target of the curse technique has already been finely divided, right? Every cell becomes the curse technique's target. The curse technique being projection sorcery, where if you don't abide by the 24-frame rule, meaning if you don't move at 24 frames a second exactly on the predetermined path that the caster has initiated for you, then you're going to begin facing its effects, being that you're going to be frozen for about 1 second. Now, in this domain, that effect still applies, like I said, but to the person's actual cells, right? So if you don't move correctly and you're already finely divided, then all of your cells are going to be out of alignment. This doesn't necessarily cause damage per se that Hikari can heal from. It's more so that his cells are just shifting places, right? And there's nothing really RCC can even fix because it's not like the cells are being destroyed, right? They're just more so being realigned.
It's not even necessarily that Hikari takes so much damage that he can heal from this. The reason that I put this forward as an idea that I think would obviously counter Hikari's ejection is that even if he decides to continuously move, right, Hikari has the thing where he ignores any damage to his body. The fact of the matter is that he's going to be torn apart at extremely rapid speed. Literally every single movement that is not confined within those 24 frames per second is going to tear him apart. And now you have a very fast character moving within his own domain that amps him. We just be able to just play keep away for 4 minutes and 11 seconds. And I'll be honest with you, he's the kind of petty character that I can very well see doing that. Because essentially just be moving around, losing limb after limb until Jackpot runs out, and then immediately afterwards the domain can be opened. Say he tries to make signs, just like Kaido, our master swordsman, he would literally leave his arms trying to make a move that drastic. This is an example where, unlike unlike Higuruma's domain, you're not exactly putting Jackpot off in the midst of its usage, but it's something that you use in order to keep him at bay, and then later immediately, assuredly halt the usage of another domain expansion and basically keep Hikari from getting on a roll.
So with that, we can move on to the next technique that we're going to be bringing up, which is actually Ronin's own idea, being Megumi's shadow thinking that we see in Chimera Shadow Garden.
I just gotta say this before anybody comes up and starts attacking me, right? This really isn't a method that I'm saying Megumi can employ because he's stronger than Hikari, blah 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 blah, whatever, right? All we're talking about here is methods that would be able to kill Hikari in Jackpot, or basically keep him from being on roll despite being so lucky. So generally just consider this, right? Whether you pair Megumi up with someone or you just put him in a situation where he's somewhat compromised like Reggie was back in the Culling game, you're basically just going to be able to submerge Hikari in his shadows, right? We know that it takes a fine-tuned amount of percentage control in order to make sure that you don't sink, and in the event that, say, I don't know, an elephant, a house, a car, an 18-wheeler, whatever you want to drop on Hikari, sends him into that abyss, unlike with water, for example, where Hikari would be able to swim up and regain surface. The shadows have no buoyancy, meaning that there is no way to ascend without Megumi literally expelling you from the shadow and ejecting you. And to be completely honest with you, unlike in the Reggie fight, Megumi wouldn't really have a reason to do this with Hikari. He could just let him sink and sink and sink endlessly, literally until Jackpot runs out and he dies, just endlessly in there, right? Megumi literally planned to do this with Reggie. The only reason that Reggie was able to escape is because he was able to burn one of his receipts and have a car eject from literally behind him outside. Hikari doesn't really have the benefit of this. So if Megumi were to ever sink Hikari into shadows, or if someone were able to help him do that, you can pretty directly just off Hikari this way. You just have him sink for several minutes, and it's not like Megumi can't hold, pretty big things inside the shadows. I mean, he was able to survive multiple cars, several tons. A single, gambling guy shouldn't be all that big of a deal.
Pretty much, Hikari's just going to be stuck at the bottom of the lagoon for the last 4 minutes and 11 seconds. And although you might hear some of the anime girl OSTs playing at the bottom of that lake, there's pretty much nothing Akari's going to do. He's pretty much stuck there. And I mean, with that, we can just move on to the next section. Maharaga's adaptation is probably the most obvious counter to Akari. Now, Maharaga doesn't seem to adapt to his opponent's speed or punches, so there's a little bit more of a debate between what exactly the adaptation would be. But to be honest, I don't even think that's all too necessary to say that Maharaga will definitely adapt. Maharaga adapts the second that he experiences an attack, and obviously experiencing the full force of Akari's jackpot punch demon punches, he's going to begin adapting nearly immediately. Even if the first adaptation doesn't suit Maharaga, he will continue to keep adapting, and there's no real limit on Maharaga's adaptation, right? The idea that Maharaga will stalemate opponents is kind of ridiculous because, as we see with Sukuna, Maharaga can continue to find adaptations. Against Gojo's Infinity, Maharaga alters the essence of his own cursed energy in order to bypass the Limitless, and pretty much just because Sukuna asked, he continues to develop the world-cutting slash. So, for Maharaga, I mean, there's a multitude of things that he can create, probably an infinite number of things that he can create to get rid of Jackpot Akari. I mean, all he would basically need to do is just shut down the curse technique. Something that's a little bit creative that we've already kind of seen in series. Kenjaku was actually able to stop the reverse curse technique on Wazanoki by having these curse spirits stab him in his neck and stop the reverse curse technique from traveling from his head to the rest of the body. Obviously, Akari's body will be completely solid, and you're not going to be able to exactly stab a curse spirit the way that Kenjaku was able to do with Hazanoki, but you might see a similar thing in the adaptation, right? There are ways to stop the reverse curse technique that aren't just completely eviscerating your opponent, and we've already seen it.
Yeah, no, there are definitely like a lot of interesting methods, and you could get really like headcanon-y, you know, just like really into the weeds of how Maharaga could possibly adapt to do it. But the simple fact of the matter is that we know Maharaga does not just adapt defensively, but offensively. Not just with Infinity, but even something as simple as Sukuna blocking one of his attacks that was like amped with, you know, positive energy. He immediately switches and then sends Sukuna flying in a way that he didn't expect. Because he was like, oh, yeah, you just blocked this attack because it was super weak. So I adapted, not necessarily by becoming stronger per se, but by changing the very nature of my attack in the first place. And so it's very possible that, like, Maharaga just gains the properties of attacks that disrupt reverse curse technique entirely. We're trying to limit it within things that we've seen within story, but to be completely honest with you, just as it did with Gojo, I've created a type of energy or a type of attack that can bypass Infinity. It's very possible that Maharaga just become abilities or just even strike that are immune to reverse cursing. That Maharaga can get pretty much completely obliterated and still survive. Akari just has no like major blasts, no major moves, no major showings that imply that he would be able to just beat Maharaga before any occur.
You might think that maybe it's not exactly enough time for Maharaga to adapt, but it totally depends on how much experience he gets, right? The more experience that Maharaga gains on his opponent, the faster he's going to continue to adapt. If Akari is just landing hit after hit for 4 minutes and 11 seconds, I mean, eventually Maharaga's going to adapt. Maybe it's not on the first jackpot, but I mean, the luckier you think Akari is, the more likely it is for Maharaga to find an adaptation and to continue finding even more after that. So with that, we can move on to the next thing, which is actually probably the most creative thing on the list, being the simple domain in Hollow Wicker Basket.
The idea is relatively simple. Akari, in order to gain the jackpot or the ability to, you know, enter his immortal, you know, infinite energy form, needs to gain the sure hit of explaining the rules and having it inject into you, right? Just like with Higuruma, his attacks are non-lethal, but as is explained in that fight and by Tengen, in order for these attacks to matter, in order for these like techniques, these rules, these limitations, these binding vows to take place, in exchange, the rules must be explained. This is basically, so you can conceptualize it, the idea is that it's a balancing system within the verse. In order to make someone play a game, you have to explain the rules so that you're not essentially cheating them, you know, beating them out because they don't understand what's going on. The same thing applies here, and we know that Simple Domain and Hollow Wicker Basket would be able to outright ignore or basically defend against sure hits, right? So the idea is that if you're Hikari, you expand your domain and you fight someone that uses Hollow Wicker Basket or Simple Domain, you would literally just be able to avoid the sure hit. That sure hit being something that like Hikari literally needs in order to get the benefit of his domain expansion.
Yeah, we also know within series that domains like Hikari, right? These were the most common domains of the era way back in the day, right? And if you look at Simple Domain was created to defend against evil and, you know, general types of domain expansions, right? So if all of the domains back then were created more similarly to Hikari and Higuruma's, where they're not necessarily lethal, the example that we get is like a literal sumo rank. If we think that it's more like that, then it would make sense of how Simple Domains are able to protect people from way back when the domains back then were supposedly not lethal.
Exactly, right. Now, one argument you can make is that, Hikari was able to open his domain and its activation speed is so fast that, like, Kashimo couldn't even really give up on using Hollow Wicker Basket. Well, a simple counter to this idea is, as soon as Hikari is done with one jackpot, you activate Simple Domain or Hollow Wicker Basket preemptively. Problem solved, right? Hikari, the 4 minutes and 11 seconds, that 4 minute and 12 seconds, you just open your Simple Domain before he opens his own domain. Therefore, your anti-Shurret effects take place earlier. It's like a really simple counter. All you have to do is survive one round of jackpot against Hikari, which in all honesty, I don't think would be the hardest thing in the world if you're like any relevant tier of sorcerer.
Some people might ask, well, why didn't Kashimo do this when they fought? For a second, like, really be open-minded about it, right? Kashimo more than likely wanted Hikari to hit jackpot, right? If you go and look at the first time he enters his domain when Hikari rolls for a jackpot, there's a point where Kashimo is really trying, right? Like, he is really beating on the guy, right? He's getting absolutely clobbered, but by the end of the domain, Kashimo is literally pressing the button that Hikari needs to press to end the sequence and enter jackpot, right? And then even outside of the domain, Kashimo is just kind of standing there smiling while Hikari continues to re-enter jackpot, and Kashimo reaffirms that there's a path to victory that he wants to take. He doesn't just want to cheese this win. He's not a farmer. He wants to continue and solo Hikari in jackpot, right? That's how he wants to win. Doing something like we're suggesting isn't even something Kashimo would want to do, and the one Hollow Wicker Basket that we hear him attempt to perform, it's most likely just a kind of like reactionary thing, right? Just to somebody opening up a domain expansion, not specifically for Hikari's jackpot.
If Hikari wanted to fight in a significantly different, more conservative way that would allow him to win, it was something he could do. He's a guy who really loves fighting, really loved the smoke, and committed to it. So if we're plugging the controller in and the idea is just make Hikari lose, you have to abide by those same like character limitations and things of that nature.
All right, so the next thing on the list is actually going to be domain amplification, right? And this one you really have to hear me out on, okay? So the reason why it's even arguable that domain amplification could turn off jackpot is not necessarily because jackpot is the curse technique per se, right? There's a very fair reason to suggest that jackpot is just the after effect of Hikari's technique, similarly to the Executioner Sword being the after effect of Higuruma's technique, right? Judgment, right? And we see, for example, when Higuruma activates domain amplification, the Executioner Sword begins to minimize and kind of shrink, like it's being neutralized to a certain extent, like domain amplification already does with curse techniques, and he's quickly able to reactivate it before it's completely extinguished. This is something that Sukuna even praises, something so similar to what he was.
Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you're wanting to know if you should pursue reconciliation with your ex or if you should move on. Going by your cards, the tower in the primary position does show that the past between the two of you hasn't really been the best. So it is showing a lot of baggage between the two of you, which is essentially confirming that you do have your work cut out for you if you are looking to reconcile. 8 of Wands in the secondary position in reverse does show that if you were to try and establish communication with them, that it would be quite difficult. They wouldn't really be receptive to it right now. However, a bit further down the line around fall, as indicated by King of Swords in the final position, it does show that you would have more of an opportunity to work things out with them. But other than that, I would not try to press things right now, since it would seem to worsen the situation. So overall, it shows that there is some value in reconciling with your ex, but you also shouldn't put your entire life on pause. I think you should remain open to any new connections while also having the notion that you will eventually try to heal things between you and this ex in the future. Now, if you want to know what the future holds for you towards the end of this year, as well as what your best romantic option would be, you can give me a call or send me a message. Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you're wanting to know if you will ever find the right woman to marry. And going by your cards, the Tower in the primary position and reversed is showing that your history when it comes to trying to find the right woman, I just said a white woman. Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you're wanting to know if you will ever find the right... I almost said white again. Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you're wanting to know if you'll ever find the right woman to marry. Going by your cards, the Tower in the primary position and reversed does show that you have had a pretty bad track record when it comes to trying to find the ideal woman for you. However, it is showing that you did learn from these experiences, so you do have a better idea of what you want. Ace of Pentacles in the secondary position shows that when it comes to the right woman for you to marry, it will be someone who gives you some form of security and comfort above all else. So I wouldn't worry too much about appearances or how much money they make, but rather on how they make you feel. 10 of Swords in the final position does show that you will find a very strong candidate around October. So you should keep your eyes open as time progresses through this year, since it does seem like you will meet someone very special who could end up being that person that you marry this year. If you'd like to know more details about what the future holds for you in terms of marriage, as well as your compatibility with this prospective woman in October, you can give me a call or send me a message. Oh my god, I'm so tired.
Then Mahito later comes to understand this idea, because what Mahito is doing is transforming the shape of your soul so violently and so quickly that your body necessarily has to conform in order to better be like basically a vessel for it. So the idea is like this, right? Say you're a vase. Damage is me knocking the vase over and chipping off a piece of it. What Mahito is doing is turning the water inside of the vase into molten lava so that like what it's able to contain in the first place fundamentally changes, right? Well, Hikari is able to heal the vase, the very structure, the ceramic that it's made of. What is inside of it isn't something that is even dealt with by a reverse curse technique.
Yeah, you can't exactly heal from something like Idol Transfiguration, and that's why it's so threatening. The moment that by Mahito, I mean, you know, we're not talking about...
Okay, it's been 2 hours.
That could actually be a video.
See you guys later.
You guys can comment down below, but if Hikari is hit with Idol Transfiguration, he's pretty